Okie dokie. The tradition that no one asked for, a review of Soulfinder by Douglas Ernst, Matthew Weldon, and Bill Williams. This one is a short and sweet one. I haven't checked to see if Doug has his latest big book out, but just in case my tradition couldn't continue, when I bought the last book, this was an add-on to it, and so I have reserved it. It's probably just about to not be in about a minute or so, so it's technically still St. Patrick's Day. Earlier, about 23 hours ago, I read this, and I'm going to go back through it. It's a short and sweet story, and Doug, if you're listening, I think this is one of your better writings, but I still have a few things I would just mention. And of course, one of the reasons why I like to go through this stuff is I really like the subject matter. I like what you're trying to do with it. But in all sorts of things, I'm also working on my own things. And so this is my way, in part, of sharpening my skill set as far as storytelling, or at least what I would want to do. And also some things I think that would be beneficial. I know critiquing is in the air as of late, but honestly, it should always be. I went to art school, and it was a pivotal part of learning how to get better at what you do. And, you know, the most important thing is I believe in comics, and for whatever reason with what's going on in the corporate comics, indies is where all the raw potential is out there right now. But for it to really push the needle, to borrow from Zach's old phrase, it has to be razor sharp. It has to cut through all the noise, and all these indie creators, yourself and myself included, when I finally get around to finishing some of my ideas, get onto the paper and out to the public. The main thing is we have to actually show that our ideas are stronger, and it has to show up in the form of better product, for lack of a better term, but more so than product. These are labors of love, and I can say, Doug, from this one is, as I say, one of your better stories. It's short and sweet and to the point, and I think I talked with you in probably over a year now, one of your live streams, and I had asked about it, or there was some sort of commentary, and you had, I believe, had said as much. Now, I have not read the last Soulfinder since last St. Patrick's Day. If there's a new book, I'll read it closer to St. Patrick's Day next year, so I can keep this dumb thing going on. Anyway, let's get into it. Hopefully everything is, you can see everything okay. This is always nice to get your background on the stuff. However, I know that this was an addendum, or, you know, a nice little extra how do you do when you bought the third book. But I still think, you know, going back to the sort of Marvel Comics thing, if you read them out of order or staggered, which, you know, possibly many people more like myself don't read them back to back to back to back. And when I get a new one, I don't necessarily go back. Like, I know everyone is hot and bothered about watching Dune 1 because Dune 2 came out, and they want to get up to speed since it's a continuation. That makes sense. But all the same, I think there are some general things that would help the audience to sort of understand what's going on. Now, I will say I haven't gone back and done a lot of research. To a degree, you don't have to explain everything. Some of these things are understood. I'm under the impression, because I've seen people goofing off near the tomb of the unnamed soldier, and the honor guard there is very quick to keep people in line, sort of say, almost like the Coldstream Guards, something along those lines, that in England where you're not supposed to touch them. They have full permission to knock you out. So Father Rudder here is clearly in the personal space of the soldier. So this is our first intriguing bit. Arlington Cemetery, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, 400 hours, so very early in the morning. There's the last couple of books, we start off with this big splash, and I think last time I complained about there are certain ideas that got shoved in, like there's space to do things and then other things, and I know it's the opening page, so we kind of want to meditate at the moment. And maybe you don't have to, I mean, for people who don't know, and probably most of your readers have an inkling or know, but it just might be one of those things that hints at why this is so strange beyond this opening page. So as we flip through, and so we get right to it. Now the only thing is, this is our establishing shot, which is great because we know exactly where we are. We get it told here, and we know the monument, and a lot of people have been there. It's a very famous part. But when we pick it up, this will be my little nitpick. Sorry to drag you out of bed yet again, Father Rudder. I hope the flight from Steepleton went smoothly. Top-notch pilots, but it's the old guard that has me concerned. The old guard, I believe, is the honor guard that watches. I haven't researched it. It's been a while since I've boned up on all this stuff. Thomas Morales, good kid. The site was hastily cordoned off after the blue burst of light engulfed the cemetery around 100. That's 1 o'clock in the morning. Urgh. He's locked in. This is crazy. 3rd Infantry just found 2 civilians in a similarly catatonic state at the Eternal Flame. A young corporal who got too close also seized up. That's when we called you. Ever see anything like that, Father? Take me there. Let's go, 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 go. So everyone loads up. They run off. They get to the tomb. I guess you could see it over here. And this is kind of our establishing shot of things. This is the other location. And have you tried to reach Father Reginald Crane, as we were reminded at the beginning? Sort of Father Rudder's mentor. Father Crane, he doesn't make an appearance, but he makes an appearance through mention, which is nice. You're always keeping your world alive. No luck, Soulfinder 77 was actually Plan A. No offense, Patrick. This is good little bit of stuff going on. All right, so here's my quibble from all this. So I don't know who this is. I don't know who that is. And yeah, I assume that there are some of the brass that we met in the previous books, but I haven't read it in a year. And it would be nice either through dialogue or just like a little something. I know you're trying to get through. This is a very short story, so we're just blasting through to the fact that our man right here calls him Patrick. So they're very familiar with each other. I wish there was just a little, top-notch pilots, General so-and-so, or, glad to be of service, or, just help the audience a little bit just to remember who people are. So they get to this section, and, see, none taken, wise move, keep trying because I'll probably slump over it as I get near that flame. So as they're approaching the Eternal Flame, I guess the idea is that whatever has happened that's catatonized, made people catatonic, is sorry for smacking my lips. It's been a doozy of a day. St. Patrick's Day. That proximity pulls you in. It's sort of like this black hole event that as you draw near to something, or what's a better analogy? Maybe not a black hole, because that is sucking you in, luring you in, kind of thing. It's more just kind of like not gravitational. Maybe it's more akin to swimming out to save a drowning man and being caught up in it. Or if you're seeing someone being electrocuted, if you try and pull them off of the source of the electricity, it enters you, and you can also be frozen, and so you're constantly locked to it. Anyway, I think it's pretty self-obvious, evident, and that's just one of those things that, okay, it's just interesting. I'm just making an analogy to it. Let me get in here. So this actually is a very pivotal thing, and I will give you credit. Like, this is really good, Doug, because you're getting ideas across in a very compact way, and I think this is really good. So have you tried to reach Father Reginald Crane? No luck. Soulfinder 77 was actually Plan A. No offense, Patrick. None taken. Wise move. Keep trying, because I'll probably slump over as I get near that flame. You can't see it, but we're on a spiritual battlefield. Who is the enemy? He has many names, and he's not alone. Make sure to find Crane or a Catholic priest if I'm out for over 3 hours. Now, we're moving quickly, and in the story, and as you can see, as he's here at the bottom, as they get closer from here, we get to see the catatonic guy. Maybe there's, I don't know, this is a good establishing shot, I suppose, but there's actually, this posture bugs me. It looks like he's been putting on a little too many carbs. And so we have our catatonic guys, and he goes and finds them, and he's aware of the bad guy that they're about to approach, because he's met him before. And as he does draw close, the blue flash, so we know that we're getting drawn into the sort of the demonic realm, if you will. And this is a pretty sweet idea of what they're going up against. He's fighting despair, which has been, I don't know if he's necessarily trying to claim that despair is a demon per se, or if it's an elemental force taking on for lack of a better term, a personified essence. It's certainly not mentioned in the same light as the Blackfire cult, or if Blackfire is the head demon in his ranks, are these lesser demons that are tied to him, that this might be one of those, or a higher level. Regardless, this looks really pretty cool. But I will say, maybe this is a place where 2 extra pages, again, I give you a hard time, or have in the past, about maybe consolidating too much, I guess what I'm going to say is that you take too long to get to certain things, but other things I think could use a little more wind up. Oh, and I forgot to mention this too. In the last book, I was suspicious that this was supposed to be I couldn't quite tell if this was supposed to be back of the hand veins, or because of that oddball shape that it might have hinted at a stigmata, to be like the nail hole of Christ. And back in those days, it would have been a square nail. But I don't think that that's the case, because every one of Matt Weldon's hands that I've seen have this mark, and I think it's just vein drawing. But because of that, now I'm suspicious that he has maybe a 3D render that has that vein pattern that he refers to quite a lot. 3D model rather, not a render. So looking at all this, so my other quibble is this might be a place where you could just take a little bit of a beat. I actually like the walking up and, hey, this is going to happen. He's going into it. And yeah, this is the add-on book, so you've already been told when you bought books 1, 2, and 3, but maybe you didn't buy 1 and 2, which is another thing I'll just mention to you as well. You know, I'm a big believer in Jim Shooter and old Marvel comics. Each one is your first one. I'm not opposed to hitting someone over the head with some information, but as I think I said last time, as long as you do it with the sledgehammer and you brain somebody, you don't have to do it constantly. You just have to do it once or twice in the proper way, and the idea is communicated. This all looks cool, but this is part of my problem. And also, I mean, it's actually very striking with the red background. However, this is fine. This is fine because we kind of see this, and of course, our big main figure. But this panel, I wish that there was something before that would establish from this point, even include this, and seeing this big embodiment of despair, that the next action that's going to happen, so the scenario is when the people become catatonic, that they also are transported into this realm of despair. And they are fighting off demons, essentially, these guys, but we don't. I kind of get it. I wish that there was something to sort of establish the scenario now of which these other soldiers who got pulled in are fighting, so that when Redder shows up, not so much, I mean, you have to prime the audience for what they're going to live through and experience. It's the Doctor Who problem to a degree, in that, you know, Doctor Who, the Time Lord that has been everywhere at every time, so he knows what's going on, generally speaking. But we need an avenue to inform the audience, which is why he has his companions. They are there to ask the questions that clearly they wouldn't know because they're, you know, from Earth or they're whatever. And so they can ask the pertinent questions that the audience needs to know to sort of get Doctor Who to do more natural exposition. So this is actually kind of interesting too, because the way it's set up, and I don't know if this is supposed to come across like this, but the soldiers that were pulled in, let's go here. So he transports himself into the realm of despair, and despair. I hope you know a thing or two about weapons, Father. Get your mind around serious firepower because we're outnumbered. So the guys that already went into the realm, either they've already figured out the sort of the Soulfinder trick, these guys, because they're blasting away with their blue weapons. So I just think that's a little weird, because our travel guide and the guide that they know they need to get in there to solve the problem is a specialized Soulfinder. And it feels like when Soulfinder shows up that these guys are lost, also trapped in despair, and that the Soulfinder, that unique set of skills, has to go in, and then like he should be the one like really telling them how to operate in this world. I mean, on one hand, you want to say, well, military, adapt, you know, to your circumstances, figure it out, and that they were pushing back enough that they manifested the weapons that they already know as a kind of a spiritual warfare device. But it's hard to see. I mean, we have Father Redder, get that. This is just a little hard to see. This could have been its own page. I know that you want to go from here, all these blue colors and all this stuff. You want to go dramatically from here to kablow, you know, and hit. And I think you still can. I think you could have made this bigger, then reserve this page, because now you got 2 splashes. You could have saved that for coming over and then dealing with that. Or 2 pages, so that you'll still have some connection to this, and that it could have been like figure this stuff out, figure that stuff out. So these guys are already fighting. We assume that they're not doing well because, one, they haven't solved the problem themselves, and when we meet the catatonic state, it means that these guys have been at it for a while. There's a woman in section 60, or where it should be, but we can't get to her. These demons are relentless. Where are we? They don't know where they are, but they've figured out how to do the Soulfinder thing. That's what I'm getting at. I think it's nice that you're trying to empower soldiers to, like, you know, do their thing, overcome, figure things out on the fly and win. But, you know, that's kind of Father Redder's deal. And Collins Morales, we're going to get out of here, but you're going to, whoa, whoosh. And it's a little unclear, I will say, what's kind of happening here. Like the whoosh is on Father Redder, and that is surrounding his use of the rosary, which is the ultimate spiritual weapon, more so than the manifestation of these other fighting tools. It's just a little unclear what's going on at this point. I assume that these guys now have gone to help Father Redder. You okay, man? What's this place? How is this place? I can explain later, but the key is for all of us, myself included, to control our emotions. Rounds fired out of fear or anger makes everything worse. I need you to cover me while I head for section 60. I'll help the woman. Now, I assume that this is section 60, that this giant manifestation is kind of basically over, like squatting over top of this great moment of despair that we'll find out. And also on this page, we're reminded of it. So I just wish that the landscape was set up. Take 2 more pages, if you could have. Take 2 more pages. Establish our soldiers that are trapped in the world, acting heroically, trying to get things squared away, but still not quite being like situationally aware. That's the thing that Father Redder can bring, and that, again, like, it's hard to tell, you know, they're worried about this woman in section 60. Like, just help us. I mean, I might have been by Arlington Cemetery 40 or 50 years ago, and I'm not saying you have to show the whole whatever, but just in the general landscape, just give us a sense of where everyone is, where they're trying to go, our good guys, where they're defending from, and the enemy, like, massing. And then, you know, despair should be like coming after you and like massing, and the numbers, you know, sort of like the where is the place in, what was it, season 5 of Game of Thrones or whatever, where they're up in the north and then the dead arrive. And also to you know, just sort of get all that sort of stuff. So Father Redder, although it's not, well, you got word balloons going there and he's dictating, but he's getting pulled into the realm of despair, which, his big wound, yes, he was burnt on half of his side, but he lost a leg. And I assume that the whoosh happening here well, I take that back, because this is in his right hand, this is left hand. That was the side that got burned. But maybe if he had alluded... No, again, I know this is not for someone who doesn't know who you are, or is not familiar with Soulfinder. I imagine that you're not getting too many new converts, pun intended, expression, whatever. But I just think that you could help us along to understand sort of the mechanics of how the Soulfinders work, and his personal story, to make acknowledge, like, well, what, I'm back to what I am. They're playing tricks on my mind. I have to keep myself, oh, I'm here, but I have to fight despair, because despair is a sin, and we can never allow ourselves to fall into that pit, right? And so, just to get in here, to finish some thoughts, I need you to cover me while I head for section 60. I'll help the woman, Roger. So his guys and Dunn, they're going to help out, which is cool. He's a natural leader in getting them going. That is the spirit of despair. So when you put rounds down range, I need you to think about someone you love who depends on your survival. So they have to keep going and not give in and give up. Now you've got it. Think of that father, mother, wife, son, or daughter, and the bonds that no evil can break. If we bring hope to despair's realm, we'll be home soon. He's talking him up, coaching him up. I just kind of wish that some of these things weren't so small. I mean, I know you want big, beautiful, splash page kind of elements, but to a degree, these things are just as, if not more important than this image, being this big thing. Give it its proper due. And again, like, this is one of those things. So for anyone who doesn't know, Soulfinders, Catholic priests who are exorcists that were previously soldiers, previous to them getting into this order of exorcists. And some of the things that they do to combat when they enter into the realm of the demonic, this is psychological, is the way I would think of it more so. Not that there aren't demons, I'm just saying, like, this is as much in the mind, in the spirit realm, than it is the material or the physical. And as a manifestation of their, I'm going to get this wrong, but their fervor, their faith, can manifest itself into something that they understand, in the limitations of the material body. Weapons that are like manifested, these blue weapons, these are the things that our soldiers went to combat with. They know their operation, they believe and trust in them in order to get things downrange, to hit the target, to go to war, to save themselves. Even like the civilians know how to brandish their weapons to focus themselves in a way to combat the spiritual through a physical representation, if that makes any sense. I'm butchering it, but it's been a long day. So they go and do all that, and they're going after this woman. Again, we never see her. So that's why I wonder, is she actually inside of this giant manifestation? Because also when they burst through and they're going through all these people, then we see the what we can believe was the originator of this whole scenario, which is the so palpable grief of this woman over her fallen husband, a soldier who was killed and buried in Arlington, that her grief was so sufficient it brought the attention of despair, and despair became so monumental, which is the nice allegory of the monumental manifestation, that it pulled all these other people into that well of despair, into this demonic realm where the demons make hay out of all these people and keep them out of living their life outside. Which is why I say this is a beautiful story. The idea is sound. Its execution of the idea, I think, is also pretty nicely done in comic book form. I just wish that you could get some of the mechanical things of what makes Soulfinder, name of the book, that you could get that to tie together a little bit more. And yeah, we know this character, and you're not, people who are buying your book are familiar with it, but I still say, help people understand, just small callbacks. This is Redder. He's going back to that moment where he probably had his greatest despair when half of his body was burned off and his leg got taken from him. And all these people are fighting, and I guess the idea is that it reminds him not to fall into this despair, because he's remembering what life was before when he was whole, in a sense. Which, again, like, you could do a whole section on that too. If you're worried about grief and despair, loss, you could even roll in like some of the feelings of post-traumatic, or coming home and the world is so much different than you were living over there. These are all things that our soldiers have to deal with, and this is a good way of dealing with this topic. And maybe you don't have to, maybe this is enough. But if you hadn't read book one, I don't know that this would have the meaning that you're hoping it does. And it really should, because here's this Soulfinder, a priest, who's gone through all this stuff. He has strong faith. You'd have to make it. And even he's now under assault, and it's a very difficult one. And having him be reinforced by these other people. I'm just saying that there's a story that is missing, which I think the audience would really respond well to, and would even bolster what's already here. And of course, in this now, where it was in the right hand, I don't know if this was a mistake, or it kind of doesn't matter. Right hand. Actually, I didn't even think to look when he's holding his weapon. Yeah, it's not there, but this is him sort of being pushed back. And it would be nice if there was a reflection of maybe this is an active measure against the Soulfinder, is to put him to the test, as everyone else is, and they're all trying to struggle their way through it. And now the Rosary is bringing him back, and he's getting his wits back against him. Again, I mean, it's a short story and you're moving us through. Just remind us of some of the things is all I would ask. So he confronts this woman. I'm here to help. Who are you? Why are you bothering us? I don't want your help. I don't know how it happened, but he's back. We're together again. I know what you're going. You don't know anything. You know nothing about me. And I guess she punches him in the leg. And this is kind of interesting that he's looking at him with a... So we know now that this is a demon that's pulling her into the... Her grief had manifested a demon, brought a demon in that wanted to seduce her by becoming the image of her husband. And you can make this stuff out, but I will say, here's another thing, is the transformation from here, this face, I mean, we see him a little bit here, and the color, now this is an important thing about the colorist, the color here is switching, and that he can become this ghoul, this demon here, but this might have been one of those things where take another step and have the transformation happen from, instead of breaking like 180 rules and things like that, that we see the transformation like the Wolfman in the old 30s movie. You know, the slow progression, not slow, I mean, it would be fast because the mask is off. But yeah, so now I will say this is the first time that Father Redder has manifested the sword of St. Michael and the sword of Our Lady. So he's like really pulling on heavy belief and asking for the assistance of very powerful prayers to manifest his weapon to dispatch this demon, to make it go away and leave this woman to be at peace. And I'm not trying to spoil everything. In fact, I'll end it pretty quickly after this. And now she's received the rosary and she's out of her stupor. She can understand that, you know, she was beguiled by her despair at losing her precious husband. And wisely, you don't have to say anything about it. This is stuff that images can just communicate. But that's why I'm saying, like, doing some of the other stuff so that the images have even greater impact. And I would say that maybe this is another place for 2 pages. Here he's fighting the demon, and I mean, swing batter, but we don't see the baseball go out. Likewise, it would have been nice to have seen him fall apart. And also, Father Redder, we have a really cool action pose scene. And despair being broken apart. Kind of wish that this was a little bit easier to see. I mean, it's a giant picture and you can kind of put it together, but again, it's a little bit of a nitpick. And of course, like everything is cured because her grief, her despair has been broken with the assistance of Jesus Christ and the help of our exorcist, who is expert at this kind of spiritual warfare. And that now she has a kind of an acceptance, and it didn't have to be talked about. And this is actually a really beautiful drawing in a lot of different ways. And the grass is really quite nice. It's a very nice technique. And so, just to wrap up, he lets her be and lets her come to terms and shape up, and then we get a little bit of a wrap up. Again, let's see here. There was a woman crouched next to that grave. How'd she fly under the radar? They never saw her because they didn't enter into the realm of despair where she was hidden away. We've got to talk to her now before. Let her go. She's been through a lot. You can track her down later. Now isn't the time. And but have someone relieve Morales if you're not already on it. He was the guy that was catatonic for a long time. So yeah, just getting these guys to sort of refocus. Yeah, we never find out who they are. And while he's there, he goes to visit presumably one of his friends. I can't remember if this is, and Doug, my apologies if you've said it before. I don't recall if this was mentioned as one of Father Redder's friends or if it was someone that you knew personally. But it's beautifully capped off the story with this sort of thing. And of course, I'm sending you out like lambs into the midst of wolves from Luke 10:3. And that's it, short and sweet. As I say, I think it's some of your most effective storytelling. I think it, as you say, you were, I believe, pretty proud of it. And the times I've talked to you before on your live streams, not, voice to voice or anything like that, but chatting over the YouTube chat. I think this is something that you can definitely build off of, but I just, with those few little comments, I hope you take it to heart in the spirit it was intended. As always, my hope is that iron sharpens iron, and the next time around, that it's just getting better and better. And I will say, it's a short story. I would have preferred maybe about 2 to 4 more pages just to like set things up and help people who haven't been there from the beginning. And it can be done really quickly. Marvel Comics was the best at doing that back in the 80s and 90s when they were awesome. And early 90s, 80s through early 90s, but basically when the everything fell apart after Jim Shooter. So that's my that's my beef on everything. Anyway, good job. I look forward to your next stuff, and these are getting shorter and shorter, so take it as a good sign. Thanks for making it, Doug, and I hope you make another one and get it out soon so I can continue on with these adventures. And anyone else, thanks for your time, and I hope this was entertaining and useful. And normally what I tell you, I'm from the South, so by God, if you've gotten here to the end and you haven't been watching at 2x speed, next time know better. All right, ciao, bye.